Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night-night.
If Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again,
I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it?
Joe Rogan warns that Jake Paul is entering extremely dangerous territory by even thinking about a fight with Anthony Joshua. He emphasizes that Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist and one of the most powerful boxers of his generation. Rogan believes Joshua would want to make an example of Jake to discourage him from challenging elite champions just for money. He adds that the skill and experience gap is so large, the fight could end very badly for Jake.
If he beat Anthony Joshua, good lord. I mean, that's a big if. Right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not
Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, good lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for that fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
Wade Plemons, host of the Wade Concept podcast, strongly warns that Jake Paul is putting himself at serious risk by facing Anthony Joshua. Plemons notes that Jake usually weighs around 90 kilograms, while Joshua fights at about 111 kilograms, creating a huge gap in size and strength. He stresses that picking fights for entertainment is one thing, but stepping into the ring with a veteran heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist is another entirely. Plemons warns that if Jake is knocked out by Joshua, he may never fully recover, calling it a potentially life-changing danger. He believes Jake's focus on money and hype is blinding him to the real risks of taking on someone of Joshua's caliber.
Taking this fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp, but an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal.
Boxing Kingdom reported on X that a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup is being negotiated as a professional boxing fight. This wouldn't be an exhibition, it would follow official Queensberry rules. That confirms the fight is being discussed seriously, with full professional regulations, not just a casual bout. If finalized, it would include sanctioned referees, official scoring, and all standard professional protocols, highlighting the real risk for both fighters. Rumors about a December showdown are spreading rapidly, but Joshua's longtime promoter, Eddie Hearn, calls the reports premature. He states that no contracts have been signed yet, and much of the news is speculation at this point. Meanwhile, veteran journalist Ariel Helwani notes that the widespread buzz itself suggests something may be happening behind the scenes. He adds that when rumors gain this much attention, they often indicate a real event, possibly later this year or early next. So, despite Hearn's caution, Helwani believes the fight could happen sooner than many expect.
Joshua and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so, what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davies' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season.
MMA Fighting shared Leon Edwards' take on the rumors about a potential Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup. Edwards joked that if Joshua doesn't knock Paul out in the first couple of rounds, the fight must be rigged or something. His comment points to the huge difference in skill, power, and experience between the two. Edwards suggests that Joshua's dominance is expected, and any prolonged fight would be a shock. Hearing this from a top UFC welterweight champion emphasizes just how serious and dangerous the matchup would be, and how much people doubt Jake Paul's ability to handle Joshua's power.
About this fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
Just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if Asia doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something. Because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it? You know.
It's going to be next month. They're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
Francis Ngannou, former MMA heavyweight champion turned boxer, once faced Anthony Joshua and was knocked out decisively. That fight proved Joshua's power and skill at heavyweight are very real. Jake Paul had previously discussed a fight with Ngannou. Already a bold move given Francis's dangerous reputation. But now the focus has shifted to Joshua, who is arguably an even bigger threat. Jake is facing a fighter who not only knocked out Ngannou, but has consistently shown that his size, speed, and heavyweight expertise make him a top-tier challenge. In short, Jake is taking on someone who defeated a fighter as dangerous as Ngannou. A matchup with huge potential reward, but enormous risk. Earlier, the idea was Jake Paul versus Francis Ngannou. But Francis publicly rejected the fight, calling it disrespectful and refusing to face a crossover influencer boxer.
Everything's wrong with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. It's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua, and Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing says you can tie Joshua to. And he's a professional, and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to... Now, none of us know what sense mean. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not...
Simon Jordan, UK boxing commentator and former club owner, was extremely direct in his opinion. He called the idea of Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul stupid and ridiculous. Jordan admits the financial stakes are huge, but insists this fight is about entertainment, not true competition. He highlights that Joshua is a two-time world heavyweight champion, has faced elite opponents, and built a lasting legacy. By contrast, Jake Paul is far from that level. Jordan argues that this matchup does nothing to enhance Joshua's legacy, while putting Jake at serious risk and undermining the integrity of heavyweight boxing.
Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact. Whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might damage it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his bank balance. But I think in the great... I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after, when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business. And Anthony Joshua is an entertainer. And you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you not have...
Tony Bellew, former WBC cruiserweight champion and now boxing analyst, has publicly expressed strong concerns about this matchup. He stated, "I won't believe it until they actually step into the ring. Bellew stresses that boxing is a serious sport with rules to protect fighters, not a spectacle designed purely for clicks or money. He points out that size, experience, and heavyweight power all matter, and Jake Paul hasn't yet built the foundation needed to face someone like Anthony Joshua. Bellew argues that before any fight agreement is made, promoters and sanctioning bodies should enforce rules to protect the less experienced fighter, in this case, Jake, rather than putting him at unnecessary risk. Across podcasts, commentary shows, and boxing media, many analysts have described the proposed Joshua versus Jake Paul fight as extremely dangerous. They emphasize the huge gap in experience, power, ring IQ, and physicality. While Jake might believe he can win, experts note he may underestimate Joshua's knockout power, control of range, fight pace, and years of experience in top-level heavyweight boxing. The general consensus is that Jake would be seriously tested if he tried to withstand Joshua's shots over multiple rounds.
Unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa.
I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him, and I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, delusionally in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the same, is it? What does this do to Anthony Joshua's legacy just by even taking this fight? Lawrence, you've known him for a lot of years.
To be honest, that's who I'm focused on. I don't really care about Jake Paul. I'm just thinking, you know, AJ needs to get himself back on track after that devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois. Why is he concentrating on Jake Paul? Like, he doesn't need him on his radar. He needs to be focusing on real fighters. And in terms of legacy, I mean, yeah, he's an active fighter. When your career's done, finished, have those type of fun fights. But right now, it makes zero sense to me. So it's just frustrating for me, to be totally honest.
That's the mistake that you're making, though, Loza, because you think he's still he's semi-retired. This is the movement of someone that is on his way out of the game, and you can't turn down that type of money, especially on the night's work that it's going to be. This is like he's already got generational wealth, but you can imagine how big this is going to be. And it's Netflix, guys. Netflix.
It's massive. Like, so that even I remember Eddie Hearn talking about it, and it seemed like he really wanted that fight. And
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you in the next one.